For more, let's go to London. Adam Hadley is Director of Tech Against Terrorism. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
It's the second time this year that we've seen an attacker live stream a rampage. In this case, it's a social media site that's used for gaming called Twitch. Your thoughts?
Twitch was used by this terrorist to live stream the video of the attack. And in some ways that is similar to what happened in Christchurch, but there are many dissimilarities as well. In this particular case, only 5 people saw that live stream video whilst the attack was taking place. It's a relatively small number of people that saw this. There were problems afterwards, though, when a number of thousands of other people shared that video using other services. And then subsequent to that, the video unfortunately became viral.
Became viral. Twitch taking it down after 30 minutes. Is that a good news or a bad news story?
Well, a lot has been going on behind the scenes with the big tech companies and the Global Internet Forum to Counter Terrorism in particular. At Tech Against Terrorism, we work with the global tech sector and law enforcement, such as Europol, to help smaller platforms tackle the terrorist use of their systems and technologies. And a lot has happened since the attacks in New Zealand, specifically thinking around online crises and content incident protocols. So a number of weeks ago, the Global Internet Forum to Counter Terrorism, which is the industry body focused on tackling terrorism online, announced its own way of coordinating global takedown efforts to improve near real-time content moderation. So while it did take some time for this content to be detected by the particular platform we're talking about, as soon as that was acknowledged, there was rapid response from all of the major tech companies. And in particular, there's a technology called hashing. The video is hashed in order to try to prevent re-upload of that video to larger platforms. So you could argue, because of a lot of thinking going on behind the scenes, various scenario workshops that have been held by Europol in The Hague, the big tech platforms were much more prepared to respond to this in a rapid way. But of course, there's always more to be done. And the work we're doing at Tech Against Terrorism with the industry is to build bigger and better systems so that this can be faster in future. But there is only so much that can be done in some cases. We're not just talking about tech platforms online, but also mainstream media. Regrettably, in a number of cases, some mainstream media outlets have rebroadcast this footage or CCTV camera material. And to a large extent, that can undermine some of the efforts that the tech sector is investing here to try to remove that violent content.
God forbid there should be another attack like Christchurch. In that particular case, it was Facebook Live. Would you say today that Facebook is ready in case there is such an occurrence?
Well, where we're talking about live stream video, that is incredibly difficult to monitor, because quite obviously it's impossible to monitor all of those live videos simultaneously. What I can say is that the tech sector, and Facebook included, is investing a lot of time in data science and machine learning approaches so that in the future may be able to detect weapons and guns in videos. That is pretty cutting edge technology, though. But
if it's not ready yet, Adam Hadley, in that case, shouldn't they just, for now, say, look, let's just ban Facebook Live until we have the technology right?
Terrorist attacks like the ones that we've seen recently are extremely rare and unusual. The vast majority of people that use the internet and use video services and use social media do so in an entirely non-violent way. So I think it's important to put some perspective here. Of course, there are terrorists, there are criminals, there are violent extremists in society, and they're always going to try to exploit technologies to further their own objectives. And the core objective of most terrorists is to get publicity, to get renown, to try to cause a political effect. So it's not just about the use of a particular video technology, but rather how we as a society, how the tech sector and how mainstream media think about this particular issue.
So a risk worth taking because of the rarity of these occurrences, you're saying. Adam Hadley, let me ask you, the targeting and the use in this instance of a social media site that's used by gamers, and gamers, it seems, have been recruiting ground for jihadists and right-wing extremists.
Yeah, what we see is that there are a number of platforms that can become dominated and exploited by fringe violent extremists and also terrorists. This is something that we've seen over a great number of years. Certainly the threat from the violent far right is increasing, and for that reason law enforcement agencies around the world are increasing their focus on trying to identify individuals who are likely to cause violence in society. In everything we do at Tech Against Terrorism, it's important that we emphasize that criminality and terrorism exists in society, and to a large extent the internet reflects those issues with individuals. So in many ways what we recommend is increased focus on identifying those individuals in society and getting to them to prevent this violence in the first place. The role of the internet in this capacity is often to promote and publicise, but it is not just about these individual platforms. It's also how mainstream media for example, there are some newspapers here in Britain that showed CCTV footage, showed a picture of one of the dead victims covered, and to a large extent that kind of undermines efforts that the tech sector is having here to make it much harder for members of the public to accidentally stumble across this imagery, which is of course violent and abhorrent and glorifies far-right extremism. So we have to focus on a holistic solution. Certainly this particular app that was used.
All right, not just. I was going to say not just online, but also, as you say, through traditional media. Adam Hadley, Director of Tech Against Terrorism. Thank you so much for joining us from London.